the Browns are going to need a quarterback as well. Jameis Winston is a free agent, but there are some other notable names on here that are free agents that could be guys that are kind of like in-house. Jacoby Brissett, who has been in the Stefanski offense. We are, by all accounts, switching back to Kevin Stefanski's offense and running the wide zone that Jacoby was okay in. And if we draft a young guy, Jacoby could be a mentor in too. So that could be a fit there. Jameis obviously could be brought back. Was kind of supposed to be brought in to run Stefanski's system. That didn't happen. But another name, we don't know if it's actually happening yet, but by all accounts, it fucking is. Kirk Cousins could be a name, a reunion here in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski. Now, based on the way things sit now, Kirk Cousins would have to be traded for. He has not been cut. He is not post-June designation, none of that. So right now, you'd have to give up assets for him. If he is cut, you can get him for very cheap, much like Russell Wilson.
Assuming he doesn't want to go out there and make more money, because one thing that Kirk Cousins is good at, and that he'll be in the Hall of Fame for, is insane contracts.
Bad getter.
Yeah.
So, when we think about that, because we have no idea what the Browns are going to do at quarterback. Deshaun Watson is obviously going to be on the roster. He'll probably be on the the PUP list to start. I don't know if they're working NFI lists. I don't know how that's going to work. I would imagine that we would have heard something if the second Achilles pop was something bad and outside of what was allowed. I don't know. But if we don't have anybody in-house, we're going to have to find somebody. If we don't bring Jameis back, is DTR going to be the guy that is the leader of that quarterback room? Because that most certainly can't happen. Not if we have any intention on actually trying to win. And with Myles Garrett's situation up in the air, there's no telling what we're going to do. Because if we trade Myles, I am 100% against drafting a quarterback. Because I believe that we'd be setting the young man up for failure, no matter who we draft. If we keep Myles and we take a quarterback, cool. But somebody is going to have to mentor him, unless we're getting ready to, unless DTRs be like, hey, bro, Kevin normally tells me about 24 hours in advance before I start. So good luck. I have no idea what it's like to prep to be a fucking starter in the NFL.
That's the thing, is it's tough for me to say like what sort of a quarterback would be a fit for you guys, because at this point I just don't really know what sort of an offense you guys are going to have, what type of offense you're necessarily going to run. Look, I think that probably the best option in many ways for you is Kirk Cousins, because of the familiarity, the relationship. Kirk Cousins, a year, more than a year removed from the Achilles injury. You have the possibility of him getting back to the ability to throw the ball better and a little bit mobility. Obviously he's not a mobile quarterback,
foot because
but a little bit something, right? A little bit something there. But he's a guy that can run an offense as a competent quarterback, despite being 35, 36 years old. Like, he's not like extremely aged out or anything like that. The problem is that you guys have to block for him. Like, you need to invest heavily in guys who can block for him, because he's not mobile. And that's the scary thing. The other good thing with Kirk Cousins is that you bring him in and it doesn't have to be on a 1-year deal and then you bring in a rookie next year. He's not necessarily the mentorship type of quarterback. Like, he doesn't mentor guys under him necessarily, but he's not a bad mentor for a young quarterback, as in they can watch and see how a professional operates an offense and acts and everything, how he spends his money reasonably at Kohl's, things like that. And Kirk Cousins can be your guy this year and a bridge next year, kind of like the Falcons unintentionally did with Michael Big Dick Penix. So it's not a terrible option. You could get him on the cheap if he's released from the Falcons. So that's not a terrible option. But beyond that, I don't know that you look at any of the other guys that are going to be out there available and say, like, I'm super stoked about this guy coming in to be my starting quarterback. I think out of the list of guys that I'm looking at, like Brissett makes a lot of sense. He feels like your prototypical this is a bridge guy who is meant to be there just to be able to run an offense and mentor the young guy, but you're not expecting wins from him. The one out of this list that I'm looking at that would provide me any sort of like a little like, ooh, maybe there's something, it would be Marcus Mariota. Um, and even then it's not crazy. Like I'm not getting super excited, but he might provide you a little excitement here and there in some games, but you also know that he's not a long-term solution. Again, none of these guys really are. So it's a tough spot for you guys to be in. Um, we'll see. I'm just saying if you bring Kirk Cousins in, should just spend almost every draft pick on offensive line.
Yeah, well, who knows what the hell we're gonna do? But the names, and you bring it up, are not great. Once you get past a couple of those top names, we talked about Sam Darnold, but as you get through here, you got Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Taylor Heineke, Mariota, Drew Lock, Andy Dalton, Jared Stidham, Joe Flacco, Mac fucking Jones, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Case Keenum still kicking around this motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush can play a little bit.
He's going to be a free agent. We'll see if he ends up back in Dallas or not. But he's a guy that's shown that he can put up Dak Prescott-like stats.
Technically, yes, he has. I don't know if that works if you take him out of that system, though.
If you take away CeeDee Lamb,
yeah.
What else is in that system? I mean, CeeDee Lamb, respect, one of the best wide receivers in the game.
Yeah,
but I mean, no running game.
They're
not great. Second, third wide receivers, decent tight end there. You guys got a decent tight end in Njoku. It's like you need a receiver for him, and you need a little bit better blocking, but it's an option.
Yeah, listen. I don't know where we're going. I know that somebody's playing quarterback for the Browns next year.
Someone has to, unless you just a wildcat the whole time.
Hey, you know what? We draft a couple of these running backs. Let's fucking just run the ball. Let's go back to 1940s football, baby.
One thing that I'll say is that if I'm you guys, I'm not against because you have 500,000 draft selections this year. I think you need to take your shot at a quarterback in the middle rounds. Someone that it doesn't matter if they flop or not. It's a body that can go in there. But best case scenario, again, you find your guy that ends up being the next Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady. One of those guys that's taken in a middle round that you're not expecting that ends up doing something. Guys like a Dylan Gabriel could be that. Guys like a Jackson Dart. I do think he's going to get pushed up a lot more in the second round, possibly traded up for in one of those last picks of the first round. But like, if you're able to get that guy in the third round, just take a shot. Because again, you have 500,000 picks. You could maybe strike gold on a quarterback. Maybe you find a long-term backup, or you could go out there and draft some wide receiver from Western Kentucky who's probably not going to make the roster long-term. Like, that's just the odds of the NFL.
That's very true.
If you don't take your shot, you're never going to find a Brock Purdy, So you might as well go for it, just not have high expectations, and then be surprised if something does happen.
Did you just say you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Love it.